Maria Lopez stood at the entrance of the small diner where she worked, the familiar scent of fried food and freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air. It was a bustling Friday evening, and the chatter of customers filled the room, blending with the clatter of plates and silverware. Maria wiped her hands on her apron, taking a moment to catch her breath. At 38, she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, but her spirit remained unbroken. As she glanced around the diner, her heart swelled with gratitude for her job, even if it barely paid the bills. Each day was a balancing act, serving tables, managing orders, and ensuring that everyone left with a smile. Maria had learned early on that kindness could go a long way in life. It was a lesson taught by her mother, who had always believed that no matter how tough things got, treating others with respect and compassion was paramount. Maria's thoughts drifted to her two children, Sophia and Miguel. At 12 and 8 years old, they were her pride and joy. She often imagined their futures. Sophia with her dreams of becoming an artist, filling sketchbooks with vibrant drawings, and Miguel with his endless curiosity about the world around him. Maria wanted nothing more than to provide them with opportunities she never had, the chance to pursue their passions without the burden of financial strain. After finishing her shift, Maria walked home under the soft glow of streetlights. The cool evening breeze brushed against her skin as she navigated familiar streets lined with modest houses and blooming gardens. Each step reminded her of the sacrifices she made for her children's happiness. She often wondered if they understood just how hard she worked to keep their little family afloat. As she turned onto a side street leading to their home, Maria's thoughts shifted to the bills piling up on the kitchen table. Rent due next week, utilities threatening to be shut off, and school expenses looming large. She had managed to keep things together so far, but each month felt like a precarious balancing act. The constant worry gnawed at her like an unwelcome guest. Yet despite these challenges, Maria found solace in small moments of joy, like watching Sophia paint colorful landscapes in their backyard or hearing Miguel's laughter as he played with friends after school. Those moments reminded her that love was far more valuable than money. They were what kept her going during the toughest days. Reaching home, Maria opened the door to find Sophia sprawled on the living room floor, surrounded by art supplies, crayons, paper, and half-finished drawings scattered about like a creative explosion. Miguel was perched on the couch, engrossed in a book about dinosaurs. The sight warmed Maria's heart. This was what made all her hard work worthwhile. "Hey there, my little artist," she called out cheerfully as she stepped inside. Sophia looked up with a bright smile. "Mom, look at this." She held up a colorful drawing of a fantastical landscape filled with swirling clouds and vibrant flowers. Maria knelt beside her daughter, admiring the artwork. "It's beautiful. You have such talent," she praised genuinely. Miguel chimed in from his spot on the couch. "I want to draw dinosaurs next. Can you help me?" His eyes sparkled with excitement. "Of course." After dinner, Maria replied, feeling a surge of happiness at their enthusiasm. As they settled into their evening routine, dinner together at their small kitchen table, Maria felt grateful for these moments of connection amidst life's chaos. They shared stories about their day. Sophia talked about school projects while Miguel animatedly recounted his latest dinosaur discoveries. Yet even as they laughed and enjoyed each other's company, Maria couldn't shake off the nagging worry in the back of her mind. She knew that tomorrow would bring another day filled with challenges and uncertainties. But for now, she focused on cherishing these fleeting moments of joy that reminded her why she fought so hard every day. As they finished dinner and cleared the table together, Maria felt a renewed sense of purpose wash over her. No matter how difficult life became or how many obstacles stood in her way, she would do everything in her power to ensure that Sophia and Miguel had brighter futures ahead, a future filled with hope and possibility. With determination etched into every line on her face, Maria Lopez embraced the challenges ahead, ready to face whatever life threw at her next. Little did she know that fate had something unexpected in store for her, a moment that would test not only her resilience, but also her moral compass in ways she could never have imagined. The following week unfolded like any other for Maria, filled with the rhythm of work and the comforting routine of family life. Each day at the diner brought a mix of regular customers and new faces, but it was the same familiar smiles that kept her going. On this particular Thursday, the diner was unusually busy, a sign that the town was gearing up for the weekend. As she bustled around, taking orders and refilling coffee cups, Maria felt a sense of accomplishment in her work. After a long shift, Maria finally clocked out, her feet aching but her heart light. The sun had begun to set, casting a warm golden hue over the town. She decided to take a longer route home, hoping to enjoy the peacefulness of the evening air. The streets were quieter now, with families settling in for dinner and children playing in their yards. As she walked, she allowed herself to dream about the future, Sophia's art show at school, and Miguel's upcoming science fair project. These thoughts brought a smile to her face. As she approached the park, Maria noticed how the last rays of sunlight danced on the surface of the pond, creating a picturesque scene. She loved this little park. It was a sanctuary where she could escape for a moment from life's burdens. She often brought her children here on weekends to play and explore. Today, however, she felt an inexplicable pull to wander through its winding paths alone. While walking along the gravel path, Maria's mind drifted back to her daily struggles. How she would pay for school supplies next month or manage unexpected expenses that always seemed to pop up. Just as she was lost in thought, something caught her eye beneath a park bench. Curious, she approached and knelt down to investigate. To her astonishment, she discovered a bag, a worn but sturdy canvas satchel that looked out of place among the fallen leaves. Maria hesitated for a moment. Something about it felt significant. With trembling hands, she unzipped it and gasped as she peered inside. Stacks of cash filled the bag, neatly bundled together and secured with rubber bands. Her heart raced as disbelief washed over her. Could this be real? The amount seemed staggering, more money than she had ever seen at once in her life. Thoughts raced through her mind like wildfire. This could solve all her problems. Rent could be paid in full. School supplies could be bought without worry. Maybe even a small treat for Sophia and Miguel, a trip to the ice cream shop or new art supplies. Yet as quickly as those thoughts surfaced, they were met with an overwhelming wave of guilt. Maria closed the bag and clutched it tightly against her chest as if it were a ticking time bomb. She thought about what her mother would say if she were here now. Honesty was everything. Her mother had always taught her that integrity mattered more than material wealth. Maria took a deep breath and sat down on the bench, allowing herself a moment to think clearly. The park was serene around her. The rustling leaves whispered secrets of the past while birds chirped their evening songs. She could picture Mr. Thompson's worried face if he had lost this money. He had been struggling to keep his grocery store afloat amid rising costs and declining sales. Suddenly overwhelmed by conflicting emotions, Maria felt tears prick at her eyes. How could something so tempting feel so wrong? She thought about Mr. Thompson's kindness toward her family over the years, how he always made sure they had what they needed when times were tough. He had even given Miguel free snacks when he visited after school. After several moments of contemplation, Maria stood up and took one last look at the bag before making up her mind. She would return it. It was not hers to keep. But as she started walking away from the park, uncertainty gnawed at her insides like an unwelcome guest. What if no one believed her? What if people accused her of taking it? The fear of judgment loomed large in her mind. But deep down, she knew that keeping it would only lead to regret, a burden far heavier than any financial relief could provide. With each step toward home, Maria felt both resolute and anxious about what lay ahead. She knew returning the money would not be easy. It would require courage and conviction that she hoped would guide her through this moral dilemma. As darkness began to settle over the town, Maria's heart pounded in rhythm with her footsteps, each beat echoing determination mixed with fear. She envisioned Mr. Thompson's face as he realized what had happened and how grateful he would be for its return. That night, as she tucked Sophia and Miguel into bed, Maria felt an unfamiliar weight on her shoulders. The weight of choice that would soon define not just her character, but also impact those around her in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. With one final glance at their sleeping faces, she whispered a silent promise. Tomorrow would bring clarity. Tomorrow would be pivotal in shaping their lives forever. The next morning, Maria awoke with a sense of purpose that had eluded her in recent weeks. The sun streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the small space with a warm glow. She brewed a pot of coffee, the rich aroma filling the air and providing a comforting start to her day. As she sipped her first cup, her thoughts drifted back to the bag of cash she had discovered in the park. The decision to return it weighed heavily on her mind, but she felt a growing resolve to do what was right. After getting Sophia and Miguel ready for school, Maria walked them to the bus stop, their laughter ringing in her ears like music. She cherished these moments, knowing that they were fleeting. As she waved goodbye to them, she felt a surge of determination. Today would be the day she returned the money to Mr. Thompson. As she made her way to the diner for another long shift, Maria's mind was filled with thoughts of Mr. Thompson. He had been a fixture in their lives for as long as she could remember, a kind-hearted man who always greeted his customers with a smile and a genuine interest in their well-being. His grocery store was more than just a place to buy food. It was a community hub where neighbors gathered, shared stories, and supported one another. Maria recalled the time when Mr. Thompson had helped her during a particularly tough month. She had come into the store with a short wallet, embarrassed and anxious about how to pay for groceries. Without hesitation, he had offered her a discount on essentials and even slipped in a few treats for the kids, cookies and juice boxes, without charging her extra. "Just take care of yourself and your family," he had said with warmth in his eyes. As she arrived at the diner, Maria found herself lost in thought about how Mr. Thompson's kindness had impacted her family over the years. He had always gone above and beyond for his customers, treating them like family rather than just patrons. Now, as he faced financial difficulties of his own, it felt only right that she return the favor. During her shift, Maria served tables while keeping an eye on the clock, anxious for a break, so she could gather her thoughts before confronting Mr. Thompson. The diner buzzed with activity. Regulars chatted over coffee, while newcomers explored the menu. Yet amidst the hustle and bustle, Maria felt an undercurrent of anxiety building within her. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, her break arrived. She stepped outside into the fresh air, taking a moment to collect herself before heading to Mr. Thompson's store. The familiar sight of his grocery store brought back memories of picking up fresh produce for dinner or letting Miguel choose his favorite snack from the shelves. As she walked toward the store, Maria noticed how Mr. Thompson's once vibrant storefront now appeared slightly worn down. A few faded signs hung crookedly above the entrance, and some of the shelves inside seemed less stocked than usual. A pang of concern shot through her. It was evident that he was struggling more than ever. When she entered the store, a small bell jingled above the door, announcing her arrival. The familiar scent of fresh bread and ripe fruits enveloped her as she stepped inside. Mr. Thompson was behind the counter, his brow furrowed in concentration as he tallied up receipts and sorted through invoices. "Good morning, Maria," he called out with his usual cheerfulness, though there was an underlying weariness in his voice that didn't go unnoticed by Maria. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," she replied softly, feeling nervous as she approached him. He looked up from his work and smiled warmly at her. "How are you doing today? How are Sophia and Miguel?" His genuine concern for her family made Maria feel both comforted and guilty about what she was about to do. "They're doing well," she said quickly, forcing a smile despite her racing heart. "I wanted to talk to you about something important." Mr. Thompson's expression shifted slightly as he sensed her seriousness. "Of course. Is everything all right?" Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Maria reached in her bag and pulled out the canvas satchel, the very bag that had changed everything for her in such a short time. She hesitated for just a moment before placing it on the counter between them. "What's this?" he asked curiously as he glanced at the bag. "This is yours," Maria said firmly but gently, locking eyes with him as she spoke. "I found it in the park last week." Mr. Thompson's eyes widened in disbelief as he reached for the bag with trembling hands. He unzipped it slowly and gasped when he saw its contents. Stacks of cash neatly bundled together inside. "Maria, I can't believe this," he stammered, looking from the bag to her face in shock. I know how hard things have been for you lately, Maria continued earnestly. You've always been there for my family when we needed help. I couldn't keep this knowing how much you've done for us. Tears welled up in Mr. Thompson's eyes as he processed what was happening. A mix of gratitude and disbelief etched across his features. You're an incredible person, he finally managed to say, his voice thick with emotion. In that moment of connection between them, two people from different walks of life bound by kindness, Maria felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over her. She had made the right choice. This act of integrity would ripple through their lives in ways they could not yet foresee. As they stood there together in silence, a grocery store owner grappling with loss and a single mother embracing hope, Maria knew that their lives were forever changed by this encounter. It would be just the beginning of something beautiful emerging from their shared humanity. After returning the bag to Mr. Thompson, Maria felt a rush of relief mixed with uncertainty. The gratitude in his eyes had warmed her heart, but as she walked home that evening, a heavy weight settled on her chest. The decision to return the money had felt right in the moment, yet doubt began to creep in. Was she truly doing the best thing for her family? That night, as she lay in bed, Maria replayed the events of the day over and over in her mind. The image of Mr. Thompson's astonished face lingered with her, a reminder of the impact her choice had made. But alongside that warmth was an unsettling question. What if he couldn't recover from his financial struggles? What if returning that money meant losing out on an opportunity to secure a better future for Sophia and Miguel? In the quiet of the night, Maria's thoughts spiraled into a whirlwind of anxiety. She envisioned herself walking into the grocery store again, this time with empty pockets and a heavy heart, knowing that she could have changed their circumstances. The temptation to give in to despair tugged at her, whispering insidiously that perhaps keeping the money would have been justified. After all, they had been living paycheck to paycheck for so long. The next morning dawned with a gray sky, mirroring Maria's mood. She prepared breakfast for her children, forcing herself to smile and engage in their morning chatter while feeling a storm brewing inside her. As they ate together at the table, she couldn't help but notice how carefree they were, Sophia animatedly discussing her latest art project, and Miguel excitedly sharing facts about dinosaurs. Their innocence reminded Maria of why she fought so hard each day. "Mom, can we go to the park today?" Miguel asked between bites of toast. Maria hesitated, thinking about how much she needed to focus on work and household chores. "Maybe this weekend," she replied, trying to mask her inner turmoil with optimism. As she dropped them off at school later that morning, Maria watched them walk away hand in hand, their laughter echoing in the air like music. A pang of guilt hit her as she thought about how much they deserved a carefree childhood, one not overshadowed by financial worries or adult responsibilities. They should be able to enjoy life without constantly worrying about bills and expenses. After dropping them off, Maria headed to the diner for another long shift. The familiar clatter of dishes and chatter of customers greeted her as she entered. Yet today felt different. She was less present than usual, lost in thought about her choices and their consequences. As she served coffee and took orders, snippets of conversations around her faded into background noise. During a rare moment of quiet between customers, Maria sat down at a table in the corner and pulled out her phone. She scrolled through social media feeds filled with images of friends taking vacations or sharing milestones. New homes, promotions at work, all reminders of what seemed unattainable for her family. A wave of envy washed over her as she thought about how far behind they were compared to others. "Hey, everything okay?" asked Lisa, one of her co-workers who noticed Maria's distracted demeanor. "Yeah," Maria replied quickly, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just tired." Lisa raised an eyebrow, but didn't press further. Instead, she shared stories from her own life, her recent trip to the beach and plans for a family gathering next month, filling the silence with laughter and camaraderie. But even as Maria listened and nodded along, her mind drifted back to Mr. Thompson and his grocery store. Later that afternoon, as she took a break outside, Maria watched families stroll by with their children, some stopping at Mr. Thompson's store for snacks or groceries. She felt a pang in her heart knowing that he was struggling while still providing for his community. A sense of responsibility washed over her. Returning the money had been an act of integrity, but it also felt like it had put him on a precarious edge. What if his store closed? What if he lost everything? Would returning that money have been worth it if it meant losing such an important part of their community? The questions spiraled endlessly in her mind. As evening approached and she returned home after another exhausting shift, Maria found herself unable to shake off these feelings of doubt. She sat at the kitchen table after putting Sophia and Miguel to bed, staring at the bills laid out before her like an unending reminder of their struggles. Each envelope representing another worry looming over their heads. In that moment of solitude and reflection, Maria realized something crucial. Integrity was not just about returning what was lost. It was also about standing firm in one's values, even when faced with adversity. Her mother had always said that true strength came from knowing who you are and what you stand for. With newfound clarity washing over her like a tide receding from shore, Maria understood that while financial stability was important for their future, teaching Sophia and Miguel about honesty and compassion would shape them into better people. People who could navigate life's challenges with grace and empathy. That night, as she lay down to sleep once more, Maria felt lighter than before. The doubts hadn't vanished entirely. They would likely linger as long as life continued its unpredictable course. But now there was also hope. A flicker ignited within her heart. A promise that no matter how difficult things became or what obstacles lay ahead, she would face them head-on with integrity guiding her path forward. The following morning, Maria woke up with a renewed sense of determination. The sun streamed through the window, casting a warm glow in her small kitchen. She could hear the distant sounds of birds chirping outside, a gentle reminder that a new day had begun. Yet, as she brewed her morning coffee, her thoughts drifted back to the bag of cash and the decision that lay ahead. After getting Sophia and Miguel ready for school, Maria felt the weight of her resolve pressing down on her. She had spent countless hours thinking about what to do with the money she had found. The memory of Mr. Thompson's face when she returned it still lingered in her mind, but so did the nagging worry about his store's future. Could she really just walk away from the opportunity to change their lives for the better? As she walked the kids to the bus stop, Maria tried to focus on their laughter and excitement about school. Sophia was talking animatedly about an art project she was working on, while Miguel bounced alongside her, sharing his latest dinosaur facts. Their joy was infectious, yet Maria felt a bittersweet ache in her heart. She wanted to provide them with everything they dreamed of, but felt trapped by circumstances beyond her control. After waving goodbye to them as they boarded the bus, Maria turned toward Mr. Thompson's grocery store, her heart pounding in her chest. Each step felt heavier than the last as she approached the familiar storefront. The bell above the door jingled as she entered, but instead of feeling welcomed by the comforting scent of fresh produce and baked goods, she was overwhelmed by anxiety. Mr. Thompson was behind the counter again, sorting through receipts and chatting with a customer. He looked up and smiled when he saw Maria enter. "Good morning. How are you today?" he asked with genuine warmth. "Morning," Maria replied, forcing a smile despite her racing heart. "I wanted to talk to you about something important." She hesitated for a moment, glancing around the store as if searching for reassurance in its familiar aisles. The shelves were stocked with various goods, canned vegetables, fresh fruits, and loaves of bread. But today they felt different. They seemed like symbols of Mr. Thompson's hard work and dedication to his community. "Sure, what's on your mind?" Mr. Thompson responded, his brow slightly furrowed with curiosity. Taking a deep breath, Maria gathered her courage. "I found something last week, something that belongs to you." Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. Mr. Thompson's expression shifted from curiosity to concern as he leaned forward slightly. "What do you mean?" Maria reached in her bag and pulled out the canvas satchel, the very bag that had caused so much turmoil within her heart over the past few days. She placed it gently on the counter between them, feeling both anxious and resolute. "I found this bag in the park," she said softly. It has cash inside, your cash. His eyes widened in disbelief as he unzipped the bag and peered inside. "Oh my goodness," he whispered, his voice barely audible as he realized what it contained. "I couldn't keep it," Maria continued, her heart racing as she watched him process this moment. "You've always been there for my family when we needed help. I couldn't take this money knowing how much you've done for us." Mr. Thompson looked up at her, tears welling in his eyes as gratitude washed over his features. "Maria, I don't know what to say," he stammered, overwhelmed by emotion. In that moment of connection between them, two individuals bound by kindness, Maria felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over her once again. She had made a choice rooted in integrity, but now came the realization that this decision would ripple through their lives in ways they could not yet foresee. However, even amidst this emotional exchange, doubt began to creep back into Maria's mind like an unwelcome shadow. What if returning this money meant that Mr. Thompson would still struggle? What if he couldn't recover from this setback? Would she have been better off keeping it for herself and her children? As Mr. Thompson expressed his heartfelt thanks and shared how much this meant to him, Maria felt torn between two worlds, the world of moral righteousness and the harsh reality of financial struggle. "Thank you for your honesty," Mr. Thompson said finally, wiping away a tear that had escaped down his cheek. "You've restored my faith in people." His words struck a chord deep within Maria's heart. He was right. Integrity mattered more than material wealth or fleeting comforts. But still, doubts lingered like ghosts in her mind. After their conversation ended and Mr. Thompson promised to find ways to recover from his struggles with renewed hope thanks to her act of kindness, Maria stepped outside into the fresh air once more. As she walked home along familiar streets lined with blooming flowers and rustling trees swaying gently in the breeze, she reflected on everything that had transpired that day. The weight of choice pressed heavily upon her shoulders once again. What would happen next? Would returning that money truly make a difference? Or would it merely serve as a reminder of what could have been? With each step closer to home came clarity, a realization that while life was unpredictable and often unfairly challenging, standing firm in one's values could lead not only to personal growth, but also inspire others around them. That evening at dinner with Sophia and Miguel gathered around their small table, filled with laughter over homemade tacos. A simple meal made special by love. Maria felt lighter than before despite lingering uncertainties about tomorrow's challenges ahead. In those moments together, sharing stories about their day, she found solace knowing that regardless of what lay ahead financially or emotionally, they would face it together as a family united by love and integrity, a bond stronger than any amount of money could ever provide. With newfound determination etched into every line on her face as they cleared their plates together after dinner, Maria vowed silently within herself. No matter how difficult things became or what obstacles lay ahead, she would continue facing them head-on, guided by integrity, leading her way forward into whatever awaited them next. The next day dawned bright and clear, and Maria felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety as she prepared to return to Mr. Thompson's grocery store. The decision to return the bag of cash had been a pivotal moment for her, but now she was ready to confront the reality of what that meant for both her and Mr. Thompson. She knew that this encounter would be crucial, not only for her own peace of mind, but also for the future of the store that meant so much to their community. As she walked down the familiar streets toward the store, Maria took a moment to appreciate the small details around her. The vibrant flowers blooming in front yards, children riding their bikes, and neighbors exchanging friendly greetings. Each sight reminded her of the tight-knit community they had built together, one that thrived on mutual support and kindness. It was this very spirit that had motivated her to return the money. She wanted to preserve that sense of belonging for everyone. Upon entering the grocery store, Maria was greeted by the familiar jingle of the bell above the door. The comforting scent of fresh produce wafted through the air, mingling with the aroma of baked goods from the small bakery section. Mr. Thompson was behind the counter, his brow furrowed in concentration as he sorted through receipts and invoices. He looked up as she approached, his expression shifting from surprise to warmth. "Maria, it's good to see you again," he said, his voice filled with genuine delight. "How are you doing?" "I'm okay," she replied, her heart racing as she prepared for what lay ahead. "I wanted to talk to you about something important." Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow, sensing her seriousness. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Taking a deep breath, Maria reached in her bag and pulled out the canvas satchel, the very bag that had sparked so much internal conflict within her. She placed it gently on the counter between them, feeling both anxious and resolute. "I found this in the park last week," she said softly. "It belongs to you." His eyes widened in disbelief as he unzipped the bag and peered inside. When he saw its contents, stacks of cash neatly bundled together, his expression shifted from shock to profound gratitude. "Maria, I can't believe this," he stammered, looking from the bag to her face in astonishment. "I couldn't keep it," Maria continued earnestly. "You've always been there for my family when we needed help. I couldn't take this money knowing how much you've done for us." Mr. Thompson's eyes glistened with tears as he processed what was happening. A mix of gratitude and disbelief etched across his features. "You're an incredible person," he finally managed to say, his voice thick with emotion. In that moment of connection between them, two people from different walks of life bound by kindness, Maria felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over her. She had made a choice rooted in integrity, but now came the realization that this decision would ripple through their lives in ways they could not yet foresee. As they stood together in silence, a grocery store owner grappling with loss and a single mother embracing hope, Maria knew that their lives were forever changed by this encounter. It would be just the beginning of something beautiful emerging from their shared humanity. "Thank you for your honesty," Mr. Thompson said finally, wiping away a tear that had escaped down his cheek. "I can't express how much this means to me." Maria smiled back at him, feeling lighter than she had in days. "I just want to make sure you're okay," she replied sincerely. But even amidst this emotional exchange, doubt began to creep back into Maria's mind like an unwelcome shadow. What if returning this money meant that Mr. Thompson would still struggle? What if he couldn't recover from his financial difficulties? Would she have been better off keeping it for herself and her children? As if sensing her turmoil, Mr. Thompson spoke again. "You know, it's not just about the money. It's about trust and community spirit," he said thoughtfully. His words struck a chord deep within Maria's heart. He was right. Integrity mattered more than material wealth or fleeting comforts. But still, doubts lingered like ghosts in her mind. After their conversation ended and Mr. Thompson promised to find ways to recover from his struggles with renewed hope thanks to her act of kindness, Maria stepped outside into the fresh air once more. As she walked home along familiar streets lined with blooming flowers and rustling trees swaying gently in the breeze, she reflected on everything that had transpired that day. The weight of choice pressed heavily upon her shoulders once again. What would happen next? Would returning that money truly make a difference? Or would it merely serve as a reminder of what could have been? With each step closer to home came clarity. A realization that while life was unpredictable and often unfairly challenging, standing firm in one's values could lead not only to personal growth, but also inspire others around them. That evening, as she tucked Sophia and Miguel into bed after sharing stories about their day, her heart felt full despite lingering uncertainties about tomorrow's challenges ahead. In those moments together, sharing laughter over bedtime stories, she found solace knowing that regardless of what lay ahead financially or emotionally, they would face it together as a family united by love and integrity, a bond stronger than any amount of money could ever provide. With newfound determination etched into every line on her face as they cleared their plates together after dinner, Maria vowed silently within herself. No matter how difficult things became or what obstacles lay ahead, she would continue facing them head-on, guided by integrity, leading her way forward into whatever awaited them next. The days following Maria's return of the bag of cash were filled with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. She had shared her plan for a fundraiser with Mr. Thompson, and together they began to brainstorm ideas to rally the community around the grocery store. As word spread about Maria's act of integrity, it sparked conversations in homes, at schools, and among friends, igniting a sense of curiosity and admiration throughout the town. On her way to work at the diner one morning, Maria overheard two women chatting at the bus stop. "Did you hear about Maria Lopez? She returned a bag of cash she found," one exclaimed, her voice filled with disbelief. The other woman nodded vigorously. "I know, and it belonged to Mr. Thompson. What an incredible thing to do." Maria felt a swell of pride at their words, but it was quickly followed by a twinge of anxiety. While she appreciated the admiration, she also worried about how people would perceive her decision. Would they think she was foolish for not keeping the money? Would they judge her for putting someone else's needs before her own family's? As she entered the diner, the familiar sounds of clinking dishes and lively chatter enveloped her. Lisa, her co-worker and friend, approached her with a bright smile. "Maria, I heard about what you did for Mr. Thompson," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "That's so brave. You're like a local hero." "Thanks, Lisa," Maria replied, feeling both flattered and uncomfortable under the spotlight. "I just did what I thought was right. Right or not, it takes guts to do something like that," Lisa insisted. "You should be proud of yourself. Not everyone would have made that choice." As the day went on, more customers came into the diner, and Maria found herself at the center of conversations about her act of kindness. Some praised her integrity, while others expressed disbelief that someone would return such a large sum of money in today's world. "I don't know if I could have done that," one man said as he sipped his coffee. "Times are tough." Maria listened intently as opinions varied from admiration to skepticism. She couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease. While many people supported her actions, there were whispers of doubt that made her question whether she had made the right choice. Later that week, as preparations for the fundraiser began in earnest, Maria met with Mr. Thompson at his store to finalize details. They discussed everything from potential activities, like bake sales and games for children, to how they would promote the event in town. "Let's put up flyers around the neighborhood," Mr. Thompson suggested as he jotted down notes on a notepad. "We should also reach out to local businesses. Maybe they can donate items for a raffle." Maria nodded enthusiastically, feeling energized by their collaboration. "And we could set up a donation box right here in the store leading up to the event," she added. As they worked together, Maria noticed how Mr. Thompson seemed to gain confidence with each passing day. The initial shock of losing his money had transformed into determination to save his store with the community's help. However, as excitement built around the fundraiser, so did tension within Maria's heart regarding how people perceive her actions. One evening at home, while preparing dinner, she confided in Sophia about her feelings. "Mom, why do you look sad?" Sophia asked innocently as she helped set the table. "I'm just thinking about what people are saying about me," Maria admitted, stirring a pot on the stove. Sophia paused and looked up at her mother with wide eyes. "But you did something good. You helped Mr. Thompson." "I know," Maria replied softly, trying to smile for her daughter's sake. "But sometimes I worry that people will think I should have kept that money instead." Sophia shook her head vigorously. "No way. You taught me that being honest is more important than money." Her words struck a chord deep within Maria's heart. They reminded her why she had made that choice in the first place. The night before the fundraiser arrived quickly, and nerves buzzed through Maria like electricity as she lay in bed unable to sleep. She thought about all those who would attend, friends, neighbors, families, and how this event could bring them together in support of Mr. Thompson. When morning finally came, excitement filled the air as families began arriving at the grocery store for the event. Colorful banners hung from trees outside. Laughter echoed through the aisles as children played games set up in front of the store. Maria felt a rush of joy as she watched people come together. Neighbors greeting each other with smiles and hugs, while sharing stories over baked goods and snacks donated by local businesses. As she moved through the crowd helping where needed, serving food or collecting donations, she noticed familiar faces from the diner mingling with those from around town who had come out to support Mr. Thompson. The atmosphere was electric. It felt like a celebration rather than just a fundraiser, a testament to their community's spirit shining brightly despite challenges faced by many. During a brief moment when things quieted down, Mr. Thompson took to a makeshift stage set up outside his store to thank everyone for coming together in support of his business. Today is not just about raising funds. It's about celebrating our community, he said passionately, his voice carrying across the crowd filled with warmth and gratitude. As he spoke about how much their support meant to him personally and professionally, how it restored his faith in humanity, Maria felt tears prick at her eyes once again. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and camaraderie, the doubts that had plagued her began to fade away like shadows in sunlight. This was what it meant to be part of something bigger than oneself, a community united through kindness and shared values. As families continued enjoying themselves throughout the day, playing games and connecting over food, Maria realized that regardless of any skepticism or judgment she had faced previously, what truly mattered was standing firm in one's convictions while inspiring others along the way. And as dusk settled over their little town, the glow from string lights illuminating smiling faces, Maria knew deep down that this experience would forever change not only Mr. Thompson, but also herself and everyone who had come together that day, united by hope and compassion for one another. A reminder that even in difficult times, love could prevail against all odds when hearts joined together as one. The day of the fundraiser dawned bright and clear, filled with a sense of anticipation that hung in the air like the sweet scent of baked goods wafting from the tables set up outside Mr. Thompson's grocery store. Maria arrived early, her heart racing with excitement and nerves as she took in the vibrant scene unfolding before her. Colorful banners fluttered in the gentle breeze, and laughter echoed as families began to gather, their faces lit up with smiles. Maria had spent the past week tirelessly organizing every detail of the event alongside Mr. Thompson. They had reached out to local businesses for donations, and the community had responded with overwhelming generosity. Tables were laden with homemade treats, cookies, cakes, and pies, each one lovingly prepared by neighbors eager to contribute. There were also games for children, a raffle with prizes donated by local artisans, and even a small stage where local musicians would perform throughout the day. As she helped set up, Maria felt a surge of pride at how everyone had come together for this cause. It was more than just a fundraiser. It was a celebration of community spirit, resilience, and kindness. She caught sight of Mr. Thompson greeting guests at the entrance, his face beaming with gratitude as he welcomed each person with open arms. "Maria," he called out as she approached him, his voice filled with enthusiasm. "Look at all these people. I can't believe how many showed up." "I know. It's amazing," she replied, her heart swelling at the sight of familiar faces mingling together. Neighbors chatting, children playing games, and families enjoying each other's company. As the event kicked off, Maria moved through the crowd, helping wherever needed. She served slices of cake and poured lemonade for thirsty families while soaking in the joyful atmosphere around her. Laughter rang out as children darted between games like a whirlwind of energy, their excitement infectious. At one point during a lull in activity, Maria stepped back to take it all in. She watched as Mr. Thompson took to the makeshift stage to thank everyone for their support once again. His voice carried over the crowd as he expressed his heartfelt appreciation for their generosity and kindness. "This store is more than just a business. It's a part of our community," he said passionately. "You've shown me that even in tough times, we can come together to lift each other up." The crowd erupted into applause, and Maria felt tears prick at her eyes as she clapped along with everyone else. It was moments like these that reminded her why she had returned that bag of cash, why integrity mattered more than any amount of money. As the day unfolded, Maria noticed how people were not just supporting Mr. Thompson's store. They were reconnecting with one another. Neighbors who hadn't spoken in months were sharing stories and laughter over plates of food. Friends were meeting old acquaintances they hadn't seen in years. It felt like a reunion, a reminder that they were all part of something larger than themselves. Later in the afternoon, Maria found herself at a table where families were gathered around playing games together. Parents laughing alongside their children as they tossed bean bags or participated in sack races. The joy radiating from those moments filled her heart with warmth. "Mom, come play," Sophia called out excitedly from across the lawn, where she was competing against Miguel in a game of tug-of-war. With a smile on her face, Maria joined them, feeling invigorated by their enthusiasm. As they played together under the warm sun, she realized how important these moments were, not just for her, but for her children too. They were learning about community and compassion firsthand. As dusk began to settle over the town and string lights illuminated the area with a soft glow, Maria felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment wash over her. The fundraiser had not only raised money for Mr. Thompson's store, but had also rekindled connections within their community that had been dormant for far too long. As people began to gather around the stage for live music performances, Maria took a moment to step back and reflect on how far they had come since that fateful day when she found the bag of cash. What started as an internal struggle had blossomed into something beautiful, a movement fueled by kindness that brought people together in ways she never imagined possible. Mr. Thompson joined her at the edge of the crowd, his expression filled with gratitude as he watched everyone enjoying themselves. "I can't thank you enough for all your hard work," he said sincerely. "It was a team effort," Maria replied humbly, feeling grateful for his acknowledgement, but knowing it was truly a community endeavor. As night fell and music filled the air, a blend of laughter and melodies weaving together, the atmosphere transformed into one of celebration and hope. Families danced together under twinkling lights while others shared stories around tables piled high with delicious food. In that moment surrounded by love and connection, Maria knew deep down that this was just the beginning. They had created something lasting through their shared efforts, a renewed sense of community spirit that would carry them forward into whatever challenges lay ahead. And as she looked around at all those smiling faces illuminated by soft light, the realization hit her. Integrity had not only restored hope for Mr. Thompson, but had also sparked an awakening within their town. A reminder that kindness could prevail against all odds when hearts joined together as one. With renewed determination etched into every line on her face, Maria embraced this new beginning, knowing that no matter what challenges awaited them, they would face them united by love and compassion, guiding their way forward into brighter days ahead. The day of the fundraiser arrived with a palpable buzz of excitement in the air. Maria woke early, her heart racing as she prepared for what would be a pivotal moment for both her and Mr. Thompson. The sun shone brightly, casting a golden light over the town, as if nature itself was celebrating this occasion. She could hear the distant sounds of laughter and chatter as families began to gather outside the grocery store, transforming the space into a vibrant hub of community spirit. As Maria arrived at the store, she was greeted by a flurry of activity. Volunteers were setting up tables laden with baked goods, while others arranged colorful banners that fluttered in the gentle breeze. The atmosphere was electric, filled with anticipation and camaraderie. Maria felt a surge of pride as she took in the scene. This was more than just a fundraiser. It was a celebration of their community coming together to support one another. Mr. Thompson stood at the entrance, greeting attendees with his trademark smile. He looked more energized than she had seen him in weeks, his eyes sparkling with gratitude and hope. "Maria, look at all these people," he exclaimed, his voice filled with enthusiasm. "I can't believe how many showed up." "I know. It's incredible," Maria replied, her heart swelling at the sight of familiar faces mingling together. Neighbors chatting, children playing games, and families enjoying each other's company. As the event kicked off, Maria moved through the crowd, helping wherever needed. She served slices of cake and poured lemonade for thirsty families while soaking in the joyful atmosphere around her. Laughter rang out as children darted between games like a whirlwind of energy, their excitement infectious. One of the first activities was a bake sale featuring an array of delicious treats donated by local bakers. Maria watched as families eagerly lined up to purchase cookies, cupcakes, and pies, their faces lighting up with delight at each sweet offering. The scent of freshly baked goods wafted through the air, mingling with the sounds of laughter and chatter that filled the space. Nearby, a group of children gathered around a face-painting station where local artists transformed their faces into colorful butterflies and fierce lions. Maria smiled as she watched Sophia and Miguel join in on the fun, their giggles ringing out as they admired their painted faces in small mirrors. "Mom, look at me!" Miguel shouted excitedly, his cheeks adorned with bright green scales resembling a dragon. Sophia stood beside him. Her face transformed into a dazzling butterfly with intricate designs that sparkled in the sunlight. "You both look amazing," Maria cheered, her heart swelling with joy at their happiness. As afternoon turned to evening, Mr. Thompson took to a makeshift stage set up outside his store to thank everyone for coming together in support of his business. The crowd gathered around him, their faces lit by the soft glow of string lights that had been hung overhead. "Today is not just about raising funds. It's about celebrating our community," he said passionately. "You've shown me that even in tough times we can come together to lift each other up." The crowd erupted into applause, and Maria felt tears prick at her eyes as she clapped along with everyone else. It was moments like these that reminded her why she had made that choice to return the bag, why integrity mattered more than any amount of money. As Mr. Thompson continued speaking about the importance of community support and resilience, Maria noticed how people were not just supporting his store, they were reconnecting with one another. Neighbors who hadn't spoken in months were sharing stories and laughter over plates of food. Friends were meeting old acquaintances they hadn't seen in years. It felt like a reunion, a reminder that they were all part of something larger than themselves. Later in the afternoon, Maria found herself at a table where families were gathered around playing games together. Parents laughing alongside their children as they tossed bean bags or participated in sack races. The joy radiating from those moments filled her heart with warmth. "Mom, come play," Sophia called out excitedly from across the lawn where she was competing against Miguel in a game of tug-of-war. With a smile on her face, Maria joined them, feeling invigorated by their enthusiasm. As they played together under the warm sun, she realized how important these moments were, not just for her, but for her children too. They were learning about community and compassion firsthand. As dusk began to settle over the town and string lights illuminated the area with a soft glow, Maria felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment wash over her. The fundraiser had not only raised money for Mr. Thompson's store, but had also rekindled connections within their community that had been dormant for far too long. As people began to gather around the stage for live music performances, Maria took a moment to step back and reflect on how far they had come since that fateful day when she found the bag of cash. What started as an internal struggle had blossomed into something beautiful, a movement fueled by kindness that brought people together in ways she never imagined possible. Mr. Thompson joined her at the edge of the crowd, his expression filled with gratitude as he watched everyone enjoying themselves. "I can't thank you enough for all your hard work," he said sincerely. "It was a team effort," Maria replied humbly, but felt grateful for his acknowledgement, knowing it was truly a community endeavor. As night fell and music filled the air, a blend of laughter and melodies weaving together, the atmosphere transformed into one of celebration and hope. Families danced together under twinkling lights, while others shared stories around tables piled high with delicious food. In that moment surrounded by love and connection, Maria knew deep down that this was just the beginning. They had created something lasting through their shared efforts, a renewed sense of community spirit that would carry them forward into whatever challenges lay ahead. And as she looked around at all those smiling faces illuminated by soft light, the realization hit her. Integrity had not only restored hope for Mr. Thompson, but had also sparked an awakening within their town. A reminder that kindness could prevail against all odds when hearts joined together as one. With renewed determination etched into every line on her face, Maria embraced this new beginning, knowing that no matter what challenges awaited them, they would face them united by love and compassion, guiding their way forward into brighter days ahead. The day after the fundraiser, Maria awoke to a sense of peace that enveloped her like a warm blanket. The sun streamed through the window, illuminating the kitchen where she had spent countless hours preparing meals and sharing laughter with her children. Yet today felt different. It was a new beginning, not just for Mr. Thompson, but for her family and the entire community. As she brewed her morning coffee, Maria reflected on the whirlwind of emotions that had filled the previous day. The fundraiser had been a resounding success, raising more money than they had anticipated. Mr. Thompson's grocery store was now secure, and the bonds forged among neighbors were stronger than ever. She felt a profound sense of gratitude for everyone who had come together to support one another. Sophia and Miguel bounded into the kitchen, their faces still glowing from the excitement of the previous day. "Mom, can we go back to Mr. Thompson's store today?" Sophia asked eagerly, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I want to help him bake." "Yeah, I want to see if he has any new dinosaur toys." Miguel chimed in, bouncing on his toes. Maria smiled at their eagerness. "Of course. Let's finish breakfast first, and then we can head over there." As they ate together, she couldn't help but feel proud of how her children were absorbing the lessons of kindness and community spirit that had unfolded around them. After breakfast, they made their way to the grocery store, where Mr. Thompson was already busy restocking shelves and chatting with customers. The atmosphere was lively. Laughter echoed through the aisles as families came in to shop and share stories about the fundraiser. "Maria, you're back!" Mr. Thompson exclaimed as he spotted them entering the store. His face lit up with joy, and he wiped his hands on his apron before walking over to greet them. "I can't thank you enough for everything you did yesterday. It was a team effort," Maria replied humbly, feeling warmth spread through her at his appreciation. "I'm just glad we could help." As they chatted, Maria noticed how Mr. Thompson seemed revitalized, his energy contagious as he engaged with customers and shared anecdotes about their favorite products. It was clear that the support from the community had lifted his spirits significantly. "Can I help you bake today?" Sophia asked eagerly, her eyes wide with excitement. "Absolutely. I could use an extra pair of hands," Mr. Thompson replied with a grin. "We're going to make some special treats for our customers in honor of yesterday's success." While Sophia joined Mr. Thompson in the back kitchen, Miguel wandered around the store, exploring every corner with wide-eyed wonder. Maria took a moment to observe her children, how they interacted with others, how they embraced opportunities to help, and felt a swell of pride in their growth. Later in the afternoon, as they baked cookies together, flour dusting their clothes and laughter filling the air, Maria couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come since that fateful day when she found the bag of cash. It had been a turning point in her life, one that challenged her values and pushed her to confront difficult choices. She thought about how returning that money had not only impacted Mr. Thompson, but had also sparked a sense of purpose within herself. A realization that integrity could lead to profound change in ways she never imagined possible. As they pulled trays of freshly baked cookies from the oven, Maria felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. The sweet aroma filled the store, drawing customers in like moths to a flame. People gathered around to sample the treats while sharing stories about their experiences during the fundraiser. "Thank you for these delicious cookies," one customer exclaimed as he took a bite, his face lighting up with delight. "Maria's kids helped make them," Mr. Thompson announced proudly, gesturing towards Sophia and Miguel, who were grinning from ear to ear. In that moment, Maria realized how much this experience had shaped not only her but also her children, teaching them valuable lessons about kindness, community engagement, and standing up for what is right. As they continued baking throughout the afternoon, Maria felt invigorated by this newfound sense of purpose, a desire to remain actively involved in her community and inspire others through small acts of kindness. Later that evening, as they sat around the dinner table enjoying their homemade cookies together, Sophia excitedly recounting stories from their day, Maria reflected on how far they had come as a family. "Mom," Miguel said between bites of cookie, "can we do more things like this? Helping people?" Maria smiled warmly at him, feeling tears prick at her eyes once again. "Absolutely. We can always find ways to help others," she replied softly. "It's important to be there for each other." With renewed determination etched into every line on her face, Maria embraced this new chapter knowing that no matter what challenges awaited them, they would face them united by love and compassion, guiding their way forward into brighter days ahead. As she tucked Sophia and Miguel into bed later that night, she whispered words of encouragement into their ears, reminding them that kindness was a powerful force capable of changing lives for the better. With each kiss goodnight, a promise sealed between mother and children, Maria knew deep down that this journey was only just beginning. Together, they would continue spreading hope and love throughout their community, one small act at a time. A legacy built on integrity that would endure for generations to come.